Good evening, namaskar, salam alaikum from J&A Bharat HSE Foundation and J&A Global HSE Foundation. I am Ashok Garlapati, welcoming you all for this 32nd Outreach and Knowledge Transfer webinar on the value of benching, encouraging your employees' feedback for improved safety outcomes. We have a wonderful speaker today. And today's session is going to be in two parts. Before that, we would like to briefly tell that some of the virtual meetings protocol. Kindly mute your microphone, raise the hand whenever you can. You want to speak, switch off your camera for better connectivity. Post your queries and comments and suggestions in the chat box. This meeting is being recorded for our future reference, as well as for learning in future as well. So please register your name, company, designation, phone, email ID in the chat box. And please stay for the ceremony group photo at the end of our session. And again, you can copy this meeting link and invite your friends. As you see there, bottom of the screen, right side bottom, there is a QR code. That QR code will take you to our WhatsApp knowledge group, which is a 24 hours active, sharing the lessons learned and sharing the knowledge and upcoming events in the WhatsApp group. We have 500 plus members from different parts of the world. So if you are not yet joined, please do join the WhatsApp group for learning round the clock. So with that, we would like to briefly talk about 10 minutes about our foundations. And again, we'll hand over to Mr. Tim Page for the session two, on the important knowledge transfer session today. So with that, I would like to request our founding trustee, Mr. Jitu Patel, for his welcome remarks. Mr. Jitu.
Thank you, Ashok ji. Good day and namaskar to all on the call. Respected honors guests, starting with our dear friend, great friend, Mr. Tim Page Botov. He's not only just great friend, he's a great professional in our profession, health, safety, environment. And as I was talking earlier before the meeting started, he's a great artist and great entertainer. And using that skill, he really sent the safety message across delightfully and very effectively. And I also warmly welcome Professor Ramana Garuji, Dr. Lakshmi Narayan Garuji, corporate dignitaries, educators, health, safety, environment, and other professional leaders and distinguished delegates. So on behalf of both the foundation, J&A Bharat and Global Foundations, a very warm welcome to you all. Everyone knows my great friend and co-founding trustee, Ashok Garlapati ji. You just met him briefly for his remarkable contributions to the health, safety, environment profession. We are delighted to say that he is currently functioning very effectively also as the president of Board of Certified Safety Professionals. He's also a fellow of the American Society of Safety Professionals. He's also a fellow of IOS and many more crowns he has possessed at this very young age. And we are very, very proud of him. Over to you, Ashok ji, please.
Thank you, Jitu Saab. I know it's a very regular routine introduction of our foundation, but we have so many new friends joined today. And we would like to briefly tell about them that myself as well as Mr. Jitu have been supporting our HSE profession almost 15 plus years of our joining together in Chicago in one of the ASSP conference, where he was honored as a fellow of the ASSP and I was honored as the Safety Professional of the Year. So we have been supporting the HSE professionals around the world in different parts of the world. You can see the blue flags there. And we wanted to do something more to India. And with that, as you see on the screen, there is an ILO global deaths related to industrial accidents. Unfortunately, India is standing on the top on these particular statistics. And there are so many organizations in India, but the foundation concept is something new. that is giving back to the community, something like a charity in the HSE profession. So that's what we brought to India. We started this particular foundation on 25th March 2022 during the COVID time. And again, that was specific to the Bharat and India. And we expanded our activities to the global as well. That is established on 30th November 2022 by Rixio Medina, is the past president of our ASSP, American Society of Safety Professionals. And as I was telling that it is a charity-based organization, it's not a membership organization like ASSP or Indian Association. So we basically collaborate with the professional organizations, corporate organizations, academic institutions, and the individuals who want to give it back. Basically, we are trying to establish a platform where you can use this platform for giving back. For example, today, our good friend Tim Page is sharing his knowledge through our platform. That's what we wanted to establish. And we do have a vision, mission, and objectives. Our vision and mission is to support our HSE professionals as well as the HSE profession. And we have objectives basically to advance occupational safety and health profession, to support and promote occupational safety and health as a career choice among the students, to inspire and develop leaders in our profession, to provide education and developmental opportunities for the deserving wherever people are unable to achieve because of the financial issues. We also recognize individuals, organizations, academic institutions, and we also get affiliated with any institutions or local or state or central government bodies. And we also signed MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the organizations having the similar objectives. So it is officially registered in India, and we have our own website. We have a few programs already running in place. One is a professional development grant. Another one is an industrial accident victim family support grant. And Madam Dhruti Thakkar from New Jersey, USA, she is sponsoring or patronizing this particular Keval Shanti Scholarship Program we do every year. Our next, this year, 2024 scholarship announcement is on 17th October. And this is the 2023 recipients. We also join hands with the DL Shah Trust Mumbai, India, in recognizing the health, safety, and sustainability and environment professionals who are really contributing to our profession. And 2024 awards will be announced shortly. And we also do the outreach sessions. And yes, Foundation invites contributions to work on its objectives. And there's a contribution form. Do not think that contributions only in the finance. We have a knowledge sharing contributions. You can also give back to your profession by spending time. For example, we have a Mr. Bala and Dinesh and Mr. NC and Mr. Dakshinamurthy who are joining today. They are part of our foundation's governance body. And yeah, if you can go to our website and find the expression of interest form, just type in there. It takes about 2 minutes. And how you can contribute. We do have a governance body and functional committee chairs. And these are all our governance body and functional committee chairs as well as advocates. And today we are introducing or inducting one Mr. Madhu Nallan Chakravarti from Hyderabad. He represents AP and Telangana states as advocate. Advocate in the sense that there are so many busy schedules for them, but they can be our mouthpiece in whichever organizations they are going. We do have already Mr. Venkatachalam as well as Mr. Dakshinamurthy from India as advocates, and he is Mr. NC is going to represent AP, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana states. And this is our briefly about our foundation. And we would like to focus now on the knowledge transfer session. And this knowledge transfer session we do on monthly basis. And this month we are focusing on very, very important topic. And we invited our good friend, many years we have associated with Mr. Tim Page on several organizations through ASSP, through BCSP, as well as he came to Kuwait for several business meetings as well. So today we are very honored to have his appointment with us today. And I request our Awards and Honors Chair, Mr. Adavi Bala Shivasrikant. He's a chair for awards and honors of our foundations. and he also works as a TPL, a Technical Professional Ladder Specialist in HSE and with Kuwait Company. I invite Mr. Bala for his introduction of the topic as well as the speaker. Mr. Bala.
Thank you very much, sir. So happy to introduce my good friend Tim Page, and I'm very happy that I'm speaking. I'm listening to him again today. Yesterday he delivered a very wonderful webinar for BCSP on conference-based entry. So it's so glad that we are listening to him once again, and such a humorous, technical, ground-to-earth, wonderful speaker. So let me go to introduce our good friend Tim Page. The name says Tim Page. Whenever he speaks, he brings with a new page about the topic. So the topic which is going to speak today for the next 40 to 45 minutes is absolutely, it will be enriching to all of us. Just to say a few things about Tim. Tim's career in safety has begun in 27 years ago as a marine in Operation Desert Storm, helping put out the oil fights in the state of Kuwait. The bit that he started his career from this country only, and I think most of you doesn't know about that. After leaving the military, Tim became a full-time safety professional, eventually achieving the CSP designation. He has also received the prestigious SPI Award, the Safety Professional of the Year, and grant from the American Society of Safety Professionals. Tim also received the National Safety Council 2018 Distinguished Service to Safety Award, and he's also the first safety professional to receive both the awards. Absolutely. Please join me in congratulating him. He was recently honored with CSP Excellence Award by BCSP USCA. He was Regional 2 Vice President for the SSP and was on the Council of Regional Affairs, CORA, as the Deputy Vice President, and sits on the Society Finance Committee and is the Secretary of the Training and Communication Practice Specialty. Tim is the owner of 2 safety compliance lectures on University of Maryland on Global Campus and a senior consultant with the Safe Start team. I remember when I did a session with the Safety Start during the trainer last year, I can understand how his contribution to Mr. Larry. So Tim has a Master of Science in OHS Management team from OHS Management from Central Washington University, and is an ambassador for the BCSP. Tim has wrapped 3 years on ESSP Board of Directors and will be continuing to do a professional volunteering service, and he will be seeking a potential new term in 2025. Certainly we will do that. Tim has had articles published in various magazines, including Safety Decisions, the Professional Safety Journal, and the VPPAS as the leader, and the National Safety Council Safety and Health magazine. And he's also the author of The Core of the Four, a motivational book to improve human performance. Just to add more, whenever we go to the safety focus and PDCs, whenever he speaks, it brings a new topic, new dimension. Yesterday, when I was listening to his session, conference-based entry, I learned one thing, how to engage the audience. So without wasting much time, and I welcome Tim on a virtual platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala. And let me share the screen and hand over to the high energetic speaker of the day today, Mr. Tim Page. Here we go.
Wow, that was an incredible introduction. And Bala, thank you so much for being there yesterday and today. And Ashok and Jatu, I am very honored to be participating in this. To the both of you, and thank you for what you do in the profession. Providing this foundation is a great way, and I will absolutely donate today. So first of all, thank you for having me. It's good to see everyone. The value of venting is what I was asked to present today. I'm going to give this to you with a thought in mind that if we don't have stop work authority in the workplace, then we won't have inclusionary tactics by our employees. In other words, they won't feel free to speak up. And so participating in this today is important, and I'm going to ask all of you to engage. Hopefully we could use the chat, if that's okay, Ashok. If I ask you a question, you can hit the Zoom response in regards to a reaction, like celebratory reaction, a clapping reaction, or a thumbs up reaction.
Yes.
That would be perfect. Okay, thank you. If you guys are okay with getting started, Ali, I'm honored, Jatu and Bala and Ashok, for all of your kind words. I wasn't always in safety. As a matter of fact, when I was born, I just wanted to be a baseball player. And so baseball is one of those sports. I have to argue, I think that cricket, watching you guys and the sport cricket, I know that you love cricket, but I'd say running the bases back and forth and stuff, it's just one of those things. But in the United States, you know, when you play baseball, you've got 4 bases. And to achieve success, you've got to score runs, sort of similar in cricket and the wicket. But in regards to running the bases, you got first, second, third. And ironically, a lot of folks in the United States likes to talk, how are we going to get our employees home safely at the end of the day? And to relate that as an analogy, we want our employees to get home safely, but that's the way you win the game. That's the way you score. You score more runs than the other team. That's the way you win the game. So if you want to win the game, you've got to do it safely. So first base would be stop, second base would be think, and third base would be vent. Your employees need to be able to speak up. And so vent in the United States is also analogies to it's an analogy to people saying, hey, I have a frustration. Can I vent? Can I speak to you about it? And that's the importance of this discussion today. And so baseball is important. And I will suggest that it's been a very successful couple of years for me. My oldest daughter got married in October of a year ago. And so it's hard to get my family in the same room. And so when we decided to, you know, go to this wedding and participate with and decide, we were absolutely honored to be there. So having our children get married is an incredible thing. But my wife and I, Sheila, we said we were going to go on a vacation for our 30th wedding anniversary. Yeah, we've been together for 33 years now, since Kuwait. We decided to go to the Maldives, and I didn't even know that this place existed. And the Maldives, you guys off the coast of India, an incredible vacation spot. If you've never been, I would highly recommend. But you could thank Star Wars for that. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I didn't even know the Maldives existed until I saw a movie called Star Wars Rogue One. And the last half of that movie was filmed in the Maldives. So grateful for that. Even last year, I got to go on an Alaskan cruise. I never thought in my life I would absolutely do that. I was invited to actually be at the Sydney, the National Safety Council in Australia. They invited me to be a keynote down there, and I got to do so many things. But more importantly, my son, he called me on Father's Day. We celebrate a holiday here in the United States for Father's Day. And he called me up and said, hey, Dad, how would you like to be a grandpa? And I absolutely, this was the first time I ever chest bumped. I chest bumped my wife, Sheila. We ran around the house. We were going around crazy. And for me, going home safely is so important. And part of the reason why I share a personal message with you, as it's important to me, is that we can motivate our employees to get there safely. But in the workplace, we as safety professionals and leaders in the workplace have to develop those systems for them to use in the workplace. And I would highlight that for my grandson. And now it's funny because now I want more. I want more than just the one grandson. If anybody has grandchildren, you know the feeling. Jitu, we have a good friend named Jack Jackson together, and he always says it out loud, I wish I would have had my grandkids first. So yeah, if you get a grandchild, if you have grandchildren, you know the importance. But for me,
Tim,
I think
our Dinesh, whom we introduced, he just got his grandson. He posts in social media with so much of excitement. I was just thinking about him when you said grandchildren, Dinesh.
Well, congratulations, Dinesh. Isn't it wonderful?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so the purpose of having this personal connectability in the world of allowing our employees to participate in safety is literally what this program is about, in getting engagement. And for me, engagement starts with our own personal reasons. And if we incorporate some of those personal reasons into our messaging, you will actually find that you'll get more engagement because you've just developed that human connection or that human relationship. That's extremely important to me. So where are we going today in maybe 40 minutes of a discussion? I would just like to ask a couple of questions to you. I'm going to give you two acronyms, and I'm going to show you a framework that will allow our employees to go home by finding the gaps in our workplace that prevent our people from speaking up. In that framework you could use, I'm going to give it to you. I'm not going to charge you for it. I'm going to give it to you. And I like for you to use this framework in your workplaces. So today our agenda is, I'm going to give supervisors a tool. I'm going to give our employees a tool, and I'm going to give your executive management, you as a safety professional, a tool to use in the workplace. All three are three different things. And in the end of this, you'll get an opportunity to have your employees speak up more frequently and without fear. Because quite frankly, fear is the biggest roadblock. And so how do we remove that fear? With these three tools. All right, now in the United States, there was a movie that came out 4 years ago called Encanto. It was on Disney. And if you haven't seen the movie, I would highly encourage you to see the movie. I'm going to move my mouse around on the screen. If you can't see it, now it probably it's better yet. But over there by the palm tree is a person hiding in a hood. And his name is Bruno. And the reason why Bruno's in hiding is that his entire family has chastised him to go into hiding. In other words, they didn't like what he had to say. And so in the workplace, sometimes employees speak up, and then some people don't like what they have to say. So they ridicule them, and then they go into hiding and never speak up anymore. And in the movie, there was a song called "We Don't Talk About Bruno."
We don't talk about Bruno, no, no, no. We don't talk about Bruno.
It's highly contagious. I'll have to stop it there, because if for the rest of the day or evening, you probably are just going to hear that song play out in your mind. And so I have to stop it early, because it's contagious. But Bruno he hid in the house in the movie because there was fear of conflict, and he didn't want to get yelled at by his mom. He didn't want to get yelled at by his sisters. Quite frankly, the grandkids were starting to yell at him. So he just went into hiding and said, I'm never going to come out and talk anymore. So the question I've got to you is, if you want to engage in the chat, a yes or no answer, please. Do you have employees where you work at that don't speak up about things that they probably should? Yes or no? What do you think? Oh, Prabish, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. Okay, thank you for participating. It looks like it's an overwhelming yes. If you're like me, you may not watch Disney movies a lot, but if you watch Star Wars, no one ever listens to C-3PO. He's the droid in Star Wars in all 9 of those movies. As a matter of fact, he was in Star Wars Rogue One for 13 seconds. So he's the only character that's been in all of the movies. But C-3PO in Empire Strikes Back actually told the general manager, Han Solo, or the captain of the Millennium Falcon, the odds of survival through an asteroid field. And of course, the general manager shouted back at C-3PO and said, never tell me the odds. As a matter of fact, throughout that entire movie, he was telling him to shut up and he actually literally turned the droid off. And sometimes we feel like that as safety managers and safety professionals in the HSE space, if we tell our bosses what we should do, or in the case of Bruno, he predicted the future by doing a risk assessment, and he gave those results back to the manager, and the manager said they don't want to hear it, then oftentimes we just shut down. We don't talk anymore. We don't speak up. And unfortunately, that could get someone killed. So in the chat, if you would do me a favor, I would like to ask, how would you rate the supervisors at your workplace? How would you rate their communication skills? Can you just give me one word? Is it low, medium, or high? How would you rate your supervisor's skills to communicate? Put that in the chat for me. It's fine. Okay, we got a low, but a majority of you are saying medium, and that's across the board. Every time I ask this question, the overwhelming response is usually about 85% medium. And so that doesn't mean that you're committing to really good communication skills, and very scared to say that they are in terrible communication skills. So we just kind of stick with the medium. Now, this next slide will look busy to you, but what I'd like to do is break it down and give you some of the what I'm talking about, because when I go into a facility to work with their supervisor's communication skills, I look for these 6 things. Number 1, is there a culture of blame? Number 2, do they do a good job or a poor job at hazard or risk identification? That would include psychosocial risks for the international standard of 45,003. I would also look for poor data. You might refer to them as key performance indicators. I don't use the terminology key performance indicators. I just like the straight word data. And if I end up using the acronym KPI, I'll actually transform that into, do you keep your people interested? Do you keep your people informed? Do you keep your people included? KPIs mean so much more to me than just data, right? Number 4, is there a lack of trust or human connection between the supervisors and their direct reports? 5, is it ineffective communication? In other words, if you rate it at medium to low, can they do a better job at communicating? And then number 6, are the employees not engaged? So I look for these 6 things when I come on site to evaluate through our advisory services. And then I use 6 success factors to combat these 6 failures. So you can write these down if you want to take a picture of the screen. I know you're doing a recording of this, which is fine. So in order to combat those 6 problems, I like to look at these 6 success factors. How do we get a culture of blame to go away? First things first, I would tell your supervisors to pause, think, and respond before they jump into conclusion. There's a reason why things are failing. It's probably mostly related to systematic failures. Unfortunately, the human connection is they don't have any soft skills to tackle the hard technical skills. And so that's number 1, pause, think, respond. If somebody cuts you off on the freeway, instead of yelling at them, think maybe they didn't see you, or maybe they have a sick wife or husband in the car and they've got to get to the hospital. Second one, fresh eyes. We have to train all of our people to do a risk assessment, not just safety professionals and not just our managers, but everyone across the board, so they can spot hazards and bring them up. Number 3, if there's a lack of proper data, or in your world, KPIs, then we need to learn from learning teams. It is a human and organization performance standard or theory, but our learning team should be everyone, not just a select few. If there's a lack of personal commitment, or in other words, trust and engagement, we've got to have the commitment up front. So you as a leader have to demonstrate leadership by example and use the terminology, I care about you. Not about compliance, but I care about you. That'll lead to trust and engagement, and you can engage your coworkers in inclusionary safety tactics. In other words, open communication. And then finally, if you want to engage with active leadership, you have to start with what you can do better for yourself, then communicate that to the people that you're asking for action from, and then they will start to speak up. But it's got to start with leadership first. So to tackle those 6 problems, I use this as a tool to tackle 6 climate success factors. And I promise, if you start with your supervisors, they are the key. They have to both give and receive input. And receiving input is the key, because if they don't receive input, then they're just going to continue down the path of failure and give poor feedback. So then they also have to be able to receive coaching feedback. They also have to understand how human factors connect to safety systems. And this is important. Make safety real. Real, REAL, is an acronym. I'll give you that terminology in just a minute. If these 3 things can occur with your supervisors, you will get these 5 benefits. Accurate leading indicator data. If you know, though, the difference between leading and lagging indicator data, the difference is that leading indicators are assessments, audits, inspections, potentially near miss reporting in terms of how it's reported. Those will all be on the leading indicator side. I am on ANSI Z16, so we look at both leading and lagging indicators. And you guys have just published that data on fatalities in India and the United States. That is a lagging metric. And then finally, there's a third one, impact metrics. Did all of your people show up to the training? That is an impact metric. All right. Do your people actually use these systematic skills in the workplace? That's an impact metric. All right. When you get all three of those and it's accurate, you're actually going to have higher performance in injury reduction. Now, if you define safety as the presence of capacity, that's fine too. But your capacity and controls can be counted. Positive day-to-day climate changes the long-term culture. If you have a worker coming into work and they actually say out loud, oh, we need to avoid J2 today because he's in a bad mood, well, that's feeding into the poor culture over a long period of time. And then you end up losing trust and engagement. And if you want this to emerge, you have to turn a blaming environment into a no blame environment. Now, caution here, I said no blame environment, but please do not remove the accountability. Don't turn a no blame environment into a never blame environment. Humans are fallible, they make mistakes. But if they do this intentionally with the intent to want to hurt someone, then yes, take the accountability route. But a no blame mindset can emerge. So the acronym Make Safety Real is important. Supervisors, this is what we do. We have to train them in how to understand these types of skills. These aren't technical skills. These are what we refer to as leadership skills, or in the United States, we sometimes refer to them as soft skills. If you take your best welder who's been at your organization for 20 years and you promote them to supervisor and take them away from the welding activity, you've just taken your best welder and moved them into a position and made them your worst supervisor if you didn't train them on the skills they need to coach. So I'd like for you to start with these 4 skills here. Number 1, they have to develop respect right away. Respect for the organization and respect for the people that are reporting to them directly. Number 2, you have to have empathy. Empathize for your people. Number 3, you have to accept your people for who they are. You can shape and mold and coach them. That comes later, but accept them for who they are and then determine where you'd like to go with them together. And then finally, the letter L is you have to learn the skill to listen. If you don't have a listening skill, it's not going to work for you. So Dr. Amy Edmondson coined the term psychological safety. And if the supervisors can do this and achieve great success, you have to look at the bridge that they need to build. So Amy Edmondson, incredible philosopher, and she determined what the technology was behind psychological safety. And if you don't know Dr. Amy Edmondson, she did some research. And so the research that she started to work on was loosely around the psychological safety term way back in 1999. And she did a determination in hospitals on the best and the worst performing clinical teams. Ironically, the best teams that she saw working, the ones that had the best performance, were the ones that made the most mistakes. In other words, they were the ones that admitting to making mistakes up front. The worst performing teams were the ones that hid their mistakes. So the teams that actually said, oh, we made a mistake today, we need to do something about this, were the best performing teams. That is very, very cool. But that means in order for people to speak up, they have to have psychological safety in the workplace. They must feel they wouldn't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with their ideas, whether they question a system, if they had a concern about safety. The team is going to be safe if they feel like they can speak up about interpersonal risk-taking. That's huge. And so together with Timothy Clark, they've determined there were 4 areas of psychological safety. You can actually see this in ISO 45003 for anybody that's familiar with the 45,000 family. I'm getting ready to join the ANSI Z10 standard, and this standard, as it works towards inclusion into ISO 45001, I'll be very closely related to the 45003 standard. Okay. So for me, I'm going to tell you these 4 levels, we're going to go clockwise around the horn. Number 1, inclusion safety. Members will feel included and wanted. When you have the sense of belonging, you actually participate and engage more. That's huge. Learner safety is where they actually are curious about what's going on with the systems. The third route is contributor safety. Once you get to the first 2, now you can start contributing your own ideas. And if you think there's failure ahead, you'll actually challenge what's going on in the workplace. So I start to see themes emerge in these areas. I saw trust. I saw explanation. I saw people saying that I want to treat all tasks with humility. And to me, that's important. And also voicing concerns, as is important to me. All 4 levels came up to what I would recommend for your supervisors. Number 1, you have to frame the workers in the context of those 6 success factors. 2, supervisors have to make safety real. 3, we as leaders have to acknowledge our own fallibility. In other words, we've made mistakes before. If I could get you to respond in the reaction, can you just do me a favor? Can you give me a thumbs up if you're willing to admit that you've made a mistake before? Okay. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I've been there before too. As a matter of fact, Ashok, when I got back from Kuwait, I had to go to, for 2019, I had to go back to London Heathrow. I'll stop. I had to go down and see Subaru down in Abu Dhabi, and then I went over to Dubai, and then back over to London. That was a huge trip for me. It was Nigeria, South Africa, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and then London in a 14-day trip. And so that was a long trip for me. And so I have to acknowledge that I made a mistake. On my way home from that long trip, I ran a red light down by my house. It was within a half a mile of my house. I ran a red light because I was just extremely exhausted. I wasn't paying attention. The car next to me moved. And when they moved, I decided to go. They had a left-hand turning arrow, but the car on the other side also had a left-hand turning arrow. I was thankful they stopped. They gave me some digital feedback from inside the car, and they were yelling at me, but all is well. I made it through, got home at the end of the day. And I suggest to you, if any of you have ever had those kinds of things happen, if you've run a red light, if you've tripped over a cable, even falling down a set of stairs or falling up a set of stairs, if you've made these types of mistakes before, please admit them to your people. And Ed Stevens, if you don't know Ed Stevens, I'm going to show you a QR code. You can download a podcast that I recorded with Ed Stevens. But Ed Stevens is the vice president of ABB EH&S. He leads their entire corporate team. He incorporated in this podcast this level of reporting called harvesting frustrations. And when I was talking to Ed about it, I showed him the 4 quadrants of psychological safety. And he saw that harvesting frustrations was all over those 4 quadrants. But just to kind of give you an explanation, if you don't want to listen to the podcast, Ed actually mentioned to me, number 1, you got to give a platform to all of your employees to speak up at any time. And so he uses the term harvesting frustration. If an employee feels frustrated about a specific task, process, system, or supervisor, that employee is allowed to stop work at any time and bring up that issue with their immediate supervisor. They will bring in the HSE professional and then speak up about it. Okay. Ashok, we got some people raising their hands.
That's what I was wondering. Can we take those questions afterwards, gentlemen? Mr. Sunil and Kamil. Just reserve your questions. Yeah. Continue. Tim.
Okay, thank you. Just keep track of them for me and I'll come back to them. Thank you so
Sure,
much.
sure. Yeah.
So the harvesting frustration component was so important that we just determined that employees just need a platform. Okay. So whether you want to use Ed Stevens' harvesting frustrations or whether you want to use the acronym I'm about to give you, it doesn't matter to me. All I'm recommending is that there should be a platform. You can base it on baseball. You can base it on cricket. You can base it on whatever you would like, as long as it's understood by the employees. For me, the value of venting is what comes up. So the letter V stood for voice your concerns. I saw that in the quadrants of the psychological safety realm. The letter E was let your employees explain it in great detail. And if it was ambiguous to you as a leader, you need to boost clarity by asking, can you walk me through it? Or can you explain that to me? Or can you provide a bit more clarity? Don't do it demeaning. Just say, hey, I don't understand. Can you explain it to me better? I always use the walk me through it technique, and that helps that employee to speak up about it or explain it in better detail. This letter N is near miss potential. Could there be a near miss, or was there a near miss in the past? And if so, as a supervisor, I would clarify again, could there have been something happening that might have been worse? Could it have been worse? And then finally, for employees, this is the tool. You have to trust your supervisor to do the right thing. Yes, I want supervisors to make safety real, but at the same time, as an employee, trust that your supervisor will do the right thing. If a supervisor doesn't act on it, unfortunately, you'll lose trust from your employee. And you only get a couple of opportunities to make it right. Okay. Then, if you don't make it right, your employees will never speak up. That's important. Okay. Remember, the letter L of real was listen, hear, employees. You have to trust your supervisor to do the right thing. But if they decide not to, or they just forgot, you can only give that supervisor so much information, right? So a platform is all I'm recommending. You could use mine. You could use the baseball analogy, stop, think, vent. If you run the bases in baseball, stop, think, act, vent, you'll get home safely and score the run. Or in other words, you'll be home with your family to the important things like grandkids, okay? All right, so this last tool I want to give you before I kind of wrap things up is the last tool for executives and leadership and management. I would like to say, if these things aren't working for you, or you need a better tool to understand systems in the workplace, try a different lens. This framework is as important to me, will help me find organizational challenges and internal factors for the human. I'm going to use this as the human factors framework. And if you would like, I can send you a white paper, send it to you, Ashok, and you can just kind of send it out to your membership.
Okay.
The white paper describes all 4 areas of the human factors framework. Not only are we looking at systems, but we're looking at people together because they're intertwined. And so if you want to find the gaps of fear, or you want to find the gaps of those 6 climate success factors, use this tool, right? Now, promise me, if you decide to use this tool, you're only using it for gaps, not solutions. We only created it to find problems, and then you can have a conversation about the problem, then work towards solution later on. And solutions start with including your people that are involved with the operation or the system. Don't provide a solution to them that's unitarily or laterally, bilaterally, something that you've just developed on your own without their participation. Okay, because you're making an impact on them with a governance model that says this is what we want you to do, but you didn't have them participated in the beginning. This is huge. Okay. First step is to talk about the systems. Now, that little gap in the wheel will allow you to move up or down. In other words, if you're doing a heavy emphasis on technical systems, but you're not doing a great job at focusing on the people systems, you need to adjust that up and down. All right, so that gap can be moved inside the center part of that wheel. I'm going to ask you, as we do an ANSI Z16, for a balanced approach between both. Okay, but sometimes we just get involved in technical systems and we forget about our people. That's not a balanced approach. Okay, so number one, engineering. Number two, process, equipment, and even your safety management systems. All of that is involved in technical systems. Something as simple as providing an interlock on a machine guard in a piece of equipment. That is a technical system. All right. Where those people interact with those systems is referred to as people systems. And you can actually talk about your company culture here, or your supervisor's level of communicating, low, medium, or high. Those are people systems. That is connected to your humans. And so sometimes a person might come into work, they might have stayed up with a sick child at home, and then now they're coming into work extremely drained or fatigued. That is an internal factor that affects their focus at the workplace. And that connects to thinking. So in thinking, this is where decision making occurs. And if they're extremely fatigued from staying up all night with a child at home, it'll impact their decision making at work. How that turns into actions, this is what you would expect people to do. And it's connected to internal factors. And that is an important connection. There is a feedback loop there that we're going to call the individual feedback loop. And supervisors should be able to determine what type of feedback should go to their employees. Also, at the same time, supervisors should be able to receive peer feedback and their leadership feedback. That is also called the individual learning loop. Finally, outcome reliability is what every organization's trying to achieve. You've got metrics involved for safety, quality, and performance, overall organizational performance. And if you're not meeting those indicators, those metrics, most of us go right back to the system as a learning loop to repair. So in other words, if we aren't producing the safety that we need or the quality that we need, and we've got quality issues across the board, you go back to the system and repair it mostly. We don't actually go back to the individual because, well, quite frankly, the individuals that are involved, they may not perform in a certain way. Okay. So using this scenario, I'm going to ask all of you to participate with the framework and this QR code that I'm about to give you for a particular scenario that we might see in the workplace. Let's just talk about an automotive manufacturing facility, and they have a compressed air hose reel. It is a retractable hose reel that we have in the workplace where somebody would use it, and it's faulty. It's brand new, but it's faulty. It doesn't work. So what you'll see is that the user of the hose reel pulls this thing out, and since it doesn't retract, they just lay it on the ground. That person did not report it to their supervisor. And another employee who doesn't belong in this area walks across the hose reel that's laid on the ground, and they trip over the compressed air hose and they injure their elbow. Don't want solutions. I want you to tell me what the problem is. So snap that QR code if you can with a cell phone, or, if you want, you could just look at the screen. You don't have to snap the QR code. But look at the screen there and tell me, what are the challenges? If you want, put it in the chat. This will be the last thing we cover so we can actually get some of those questions answered. So do me a favor. Tell me, where are the challenges? Put it in the chat for me. Is it technical, people, outcome reliability? Is it an internal factor? Is it thinking? What is it? Action? Tell me what it is in your mind. Okay, we've got behaviors. People didn't report, right?
Yeah.
Is there a system that doesn't allow this person to report it? Is it a supervisory issue? Maybe they told their supervisor before and nothing happened. Organizational culture, good. That's all good. People are scared of being reported or being blamed. Ironically, blame it's a rhyming word to shame. And sometimes we shame our people into the work that we want them to do. Fatigue, all great answers. Thank you so much for your participation. And so I'm actually looking at the QR code responses, and we got a lot of you checking boxes there. We got some people saying it's supervisory skills. We got some people saying it's people systems, just as Sunil said. Organizational performance. We've got check marks in decision making and fatigue potentially, and attention. Oh, great. Thank you so much for your participation. And so to wrap things up here, I want you to know when I had that conversation with Ed Stevens, the VP of EH&S at ABB, we were looking at this framework and he said, yep, people are involved with the technical systems. And when you write a policy or a procedure as a system and they don't participate in the policy or procedure, there's a bunch of levels that you need to look at. Number one, did the management actually roll it out or implement it correctly for people to understand it? Number two, are the supervisors out there coaching their people to understand it as well? And number three, are the people following the procedure or disregarding the procedure, or are they just intentionally not following that procedure? And that has a lot to do with the coaching. So believe it or not, in my world, I would say supervisors are the key. Okay.
Exactly.
I want you to take that framework and come back to me and say, hey, this is working for me or not. But for me, it's a new lens. It's a new way of viewing things. And I'll wrap things up here with just to summarize, and then we'll go to the questions. Ashok, if you can just have those folks ready to go.
Sure.
Back to the beginning, we need to talk about Bruno. And if Bruno went into hiding and he finished his prophecy, basically his prediction of the future, as a safety professional, you get paid to predict that people might make mistakes here. And if you bring that up to a supervisor or a manager or an executive of the company, hopefully they're listening to you, but don't lose sight. Don't feed into the fear. You have to let them know that this is a potential problem in the workplace. Supervisors have to make it real. I believe in psychological safety as a feeling, and people should feel safe enough to speak up. I don't care what platform you use. You can use Ed's, Stevens, harvesting frustrations. You can use the baseball analogy, stop, think, vent. You can use the venting framework. It doesn't matter to me. Use a platform, get it out there, let people start working on it. And finally, try a different lens, put a different set of glasses on. If you want, you can use the human factors framework. And I believe together, collaboration wise, we can all come to a conclusion that the value of venting, harvesting frustrations, whatever platform you decide to use, will allow people to feel safe to speak up, which is important to me. And so with that said, I'll stop here and answer any questions that might come about. Ashok, if you could just point me in the right direction, if you got.
Sure. Yes, we have our Q&A moderator, Mr. Dinesh. Let me invite him for any Q&A questions. Mr. Sunil Singh as well as Mr. Kamil already raised the hand. So go ahead, Mr. Dinesh ji. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Ashok sir. Thank you very much, first of all, the projector to bring this much informative session today. And since I hope there will be many questions, others you can chat me personally. So far, I can allow to the first G. Kamaluddin. Please, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question directly to the presenter, please.
Thank you, team. It's always wonderful having you speak up. But what I want to say is just going to be a contribution in terms of we as safety professionals, and we're seen as leaders. And what I con out in the course of my career and the present project that I was working on is about mistake, that we need to own up, to have others own up to their errors. So my point is we need to own up as professionals, to have others own up to their errors. And this has happened to me the way Tim has shared his own analogy. Recently, I was involved in an accident, which basically I was into fatigue. And what I did the next safety meeting, town hall meeting, which I had on the project, is for me to come up to share my situation. Unfortunately, some of the members are already looking up to see, is Camille going to share his own error? And at that point, when I share, and everybody just start raising up their hand and say, you know what, I thought you were not going to own up about this. And that make a huge difference in the conversations that we're having, making people to really vent on the project. And we've recorded huge success on this project. We've done about 1.8 million man hours in the last 2 years, and we've recorded 0 lost time injury on the project. And that has improved our safety culture. So I just want to share that. Again, the word is own up, to have others own up to their errors. That is what
Camille,
we deploy.
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks.
I appreciate that comment, because you know what, if we're gonna hide our own errors and then we expect people to speak up about theirs, then they're never gonna trust us. And so that is an incredible point. Thank you so much. Own up to your errors. Like it.
Perfect. Yes. Go ahead, Dinesh. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. So next, first we have one in the chat also questions. I think it is read by the, not others, by yourself, to Mr. Ashok sir.
Now, Mr. Sunil Singh has got a comment. Let's invite Mr. Sunil Singh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Sunil Singh, please unmute yourself and raise the query in the direct way, not the very long way. Mr. Sunil?
He raised the hands. Maybe he's not seeing. Okay, so let's
Still
go
on.
to Mr. Parda. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, Sunil, please go ahead. Ask your question.
Sir,
Go ahead, Parda.
good evening, everybody, and Mr. Team, and also the JA Global Foundation to give me the opportunity to join this program. And my question is, sir, first, safety professional think about they are working for a noble cause, for the safe of the human life, human environment also, health also of the society and nations. So agar if they are thinking at that line, so they can perform their job is very easy way. Otherwise, they are coming and going. It's not a fulfill the safety professional job, sir.
Agreed, Sunil. Thank you so much for that comment. I absolutely agree that we all have a noble job. We are in this business to protect people and save lives. Often we talk about reducing injuries, but for those of you that are doing a really good job, you never talk about the number of people's lives you've saved. And so we are in a noble business, and maybe consider that there are people's lives that we've protected and saved, and we never think about that. So great point, Sunil. Thank you.
Go ahead, Parda. You are muted.
Sorry. Thank you very much. Next, we have Mr. Alok Chatterjee. Please unmute yourself and you can
Dinesh,
ask the question.
Mr. Parda is already speaking. Yeah. Then we can go to Alok. Yeah.
Thank you. My question is not a question, I would say that. You said about this no blame mindset. It is right when employees and workers do mistakes and errors, because these are being human beings, these are inevitable. But there are few individuals at times, they abuse the freedom, liberty, whatever the organization gives, to use the safety as an advantage for them. In that case, how to use this no blame? Is that not leading to conflict? What the safety culture would like to establish? Over to you.
That is a great question. I often refer to a no blame society as that we have to seek first intention. Then we can go down the path of accountability. And so what I found is that there's a lot of organizations using the philosophy of human and organizational performance, HOP. One of the tools is having a no blame mindset. Blame the system, don't blame the worker. And I'm okay with that philosophy, but at a certain point, what you'll end up getting is zero accountability. So I often refer to as a no blame mindset, but to your point, it's important to not let that turn into a never blame mindset, because if there is a level of accountability missing, what you'll end up getting is mediocrity. And that work for me is, if we want to achieve perfection and precision, you got to work hard. And sometimes if we allow our workers to just work in the levels of mediocrity or just okay work, then we're going to have this no blame mindset turn into just okay work. And unfortunately, I agree with you. You have to hold some folks accountable to certain things. And I just, do me a favor, if you're going to do that, keep the no blame mindset, but also in the background, understand intention. If people make a mistake and it was unintentional, make that known up front, as opposed to just jumping into the blame game. So that'll help you with discourse, and that'll help you have a very specific path and where you're going to go. So make sure your no blame mindset stays. Just don't turn that into a never blame mindset, because it'll lead you to a path of mediocrity. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the question in the chat by Ashok sir. Can you elaborate on the empathy? As mentioned, empathy, the ability to understand and share the feeling of another.
Yeah, great question. Empathy for me is that when you actually are working with an individual or a human, that you try to understand their background and put yourself in their shoes. Understand that they might have challenges that you may not even be aware of. And so here's what I'd like for you to do with the word empathy, is that if you've got an employee that you don't know much about, get to know them. Because what you do is, when you do get to know them, and this is mostly for supervisors, it can help us as safety professionals, but we need to educate our supervisors to do this, is if a supervisor understands their employees, and maybe perhaps they ask, how many kids do you have? And if you got an employee that has 12 kids at home, that's a handful. That level of feeling going, I only got 3. I can't imagine 12. But the work that they've got to do to maintain and take care of those 12 children is a lot more work than you with the 3. So having a level of empathy and understanding starts with knowing your people. But for me, empathy is just getting to know your people and understanding where they are. Put yourself in their shoes is the analogy we use here in the United States. Does that translate, Ashok? Put yourself in their shoes?
Exactly. That's perfect. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Great question.
Dinesh, one Mr. Alok I raised the hand. It can be the last question also. Yeah. Mr. Alok Chatterjee.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving me the opportunity. Actually, with my experience, I have already written this thing, safety is an ambience provided by the management. Okay, and actually from my experiences all over in India, and I have seen structured organizations, unstructured, non-structured organizations, everything. And the best example to tell about is if we talk about the metro rails, where you can find the workmen as well as the commuters, they are fully disciplined under an ambience that is created by the management only. Here, I mean to say is that our workers are not more than just tools and tackles like for the work. They have to be engaged, they have to be trained, they have to be maintained, and they have to be disciplined by us only. And where we can, the blame game comes when actually it is a blame for the management. Every blame is blame for the management, because there is something missing in the management part of this full cycle of plan, do, check, act. Something missing, because no management is doing any business which they do not know. They know the business, they know the work, how it is to be started and to be finished. Why in this blame game comes? Because there is a fault in the management system. That is my understanding over here, and Mr. Team also very nicely told this matter. These are the BBS matters, whatever he has highlighted, everything. Only one question, that why to go not that way, Why to go round and round? Why not to hit on the management to improve the systems of PDCA? In safety also, the PDCA has to be incorporated so that there is no gap in the system. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, there's a you actually said a lot, and I'm gonna try to unpack all of this. And so number one, ambiance is a great terminology. I appreciate that level of terms and analogy. All of you here probably, if you're married or you've got a significant other, you wanted to take your your partner out for a wonderful night on the town, and you probably brought them back home, and you light the candle, so you're setting the ambiance for that romantic evening. And I totally understand that we need to do that as safety professionals. So that's a really good analogy. We set that up. And in regards to the question about management setting up those systems, I agree. I think that we should start with systems. As a matter of fact, if we don't develop the systems, then they're just going to be floundering with ambiguity. In other words, we don't know how their performance is going to be if we don't put the system in for them to come into an alignment. So that's important. So I agree with that. But I also believe that we can look at and provide tools to our people so they can have better individual situational awareness on their own. And so they can do that and we can do the system. So it's not an either or equation for me. It's actually air quotes here. It's an and equation. So I like to do both. And what's important to me is that, we can develop the systems and allow our employees to fail safely. That's great. But remember, when we put the seatbelt in the car, that seatbelt doesn't prevent the car accident from occurring. It just prevents further injury down the road. And so better attention, better understanding. If you've run a red light before, bring those things up because you can actually prevent someone from running a red light in the future. So I'm an and person. I like to do both systems and people, and that's my approach. And I appreciate a comment about the systems and that executives and management should actually be doing that. Absolutely. I agree 100%. But at the same time, I'm going to provide tools to our people so they could do on their own, get better at safety around the clock. And 24/7 is a great approach. And you provide those tools to them. They get better at work, but they also get better with their families, especially if you got a grandchild like me. So, but thank you for that comment. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Dinesh ji, you can wrap up here.
Thank you very much for the questions asking by the attendees, and let thank to Mr. Tim Page for answering those questions. If still anyone remains, can you raise hand or you can text?
Let's continue. Yeah.
I will be waiting to see the raise hand or the text, however you like to ask the question. If it is no question there,
You conclude, yes.
then may I say thank you to everyone who asked the question, and let me hand over mic back to Mr. Ashok sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dinesh ji. Thank you so much for conducting the Q&A session. Jitu Saab, this is our gratitude to our knowledge partner of today, Mr. Tim Page. Would you like to say a few words? You are muted, maybe, Jitu.
Team, you don't even need this thing. You are already recognized worldwide. But in spite of that, from the bottom of our hearts, on behalf of both the foundations, we really do appreciate you sparing your time. You are a big traveler. Everybody is looking for you. And you spared this time for our foundation's supporters, sponsors, and well-wishers. We thank you very much. Personally, both Ashok and I, as the trustees of the foundation, and all the governance that some of them you already met virtually, electronically today. So we really appreciate for this outstanding presentation. Personally, I learned a lot myself, even though you have put a crown on my head and nailed my head with that fellowship. And for everybody's benefit, it was Tim Page who really was instrumental to bring me to the fellowship of the American Society of Safety Professionals. And I'm so proud of him. And I wish he becomes the next fellow of that magnificent, the large professional association. With that, team, this is a token of our appreciation, this certificate, virtual certificate to you. Please accept it with your warmth and love from us. Thank you.
Yeah, accepted for sure, and it was my honor to be here. I just was looking at the list of people. Jatu, you, and Ashok are fellows, and I think Ashok, you should be proud. There are 3 international, national ASSP Safety Professionals of the Year in the same room, and that's
that's great. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
You've done some great work. I am honored to be a part of this, and thank you for inviting me. So you guys, this has been great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. We have just 5 to 7 minutes more recognitions, and kindly be there so that you will understand more about our foundations. So we just want to recognize our contributors to the foundations. Dr. Praveen Patel, Ms. Smita Patel Scholarship Program we announced this year, and the event will be on 17th October, and already we finished. And these are our financial donors for the Global Foundation, as well as these are knowledge donors, team, our colleagues, Rixio, Carl, and Kathy. They were all part of our OKT sessions, and you will be in the honor of, what you call that, honor of this particular knowledge donors as well. Thank you for participating in this. And we do have a corporate engagement with the organizations, as we already announced in the beginning, with the Invo Systems Singapore. And currently, we are doing a track your carbon footprint on using the smartphone application developed by this Invo Systems. It is you can take a picture of this. There is a subscription code. And once you go into this Planet Sustain app, you can download in the App Store. You can download in the Google Store. Android Play Store, and you can enter this subscription code. You will get the 2 months carbon footprint study. You just enter it. It's a very simple data entry of your daily consumption of the electricity, fuel, all these things. So you can calculate your carbon footprint. And this is a 2-month study we are doing. At the end of the study, we will be recognizing all those who will be reducing their carbon footprint during this 2-month study. And we do have a MOUs with the Center for HSE as well as HSE Champ. We always do the quiz questions, but Mr. Prabeesh has been out of country for some time. We will come back to all the quiz questions shortly from next to OKT onwards. And we also do the Global HSE Championship. It will be coming up soon back. Mr. Prabeesh is getting charged slowly. And we already have this hazards and safe handling pyrophoric materials. It's a podcast, video podcast. You can get in our YouTube channel. And our upcoming OKT sessions is on very, very upcoming events will be on Scholarship Day, Annual Scholarship Day on 2024 on Thursday, 17th October 2024. And the next OKT, next OKT is talking about the analysis of personal factors influencing the electrical occupational accidents. In the last 2 days in our WhatsApp group, there are so many incidents have been shared, fire incidents due to electrical short circuits. So this is a case study done by one Mr. Tiju Baby. He's from the God's own country of state of Kerala. He's currently working in Korea. He'll be sharing. We are normally having 8:30 p.m. India time. It will be 12 o'clock in Korea, but he still said, I would like to join and share my case study with you. So please watch out for this. It will be on 23rd October 2024, Wednesday. And with that, we would like to hand over to Mr. Yashwant for his vote of thanks. Mr. Yashwant.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Good evening, everyone. As we come to the conclusion of the 32nd OKT session, it's my honor to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to those who have made it today possible. First and foremost, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to the founders of J&A HSE Foundation, Mr. Jitu and Mr. Ashok. So your commitment to improving health and safety over the decades has paved the way for conversations like today, where we have strived to create safer workplaces for all. I would also like to extend a special thanks to our esteemed presenter, Tim Page, and I always enjoy listening to his insights and wherever he speaks, for sharing his expertise on such a vital topic, the value of venting, encouraging employee feedback for improved safety outcomes. Tim, your insights into the importance of employee feedback and its impact on safety has given many of us today to think about and act upon. We appreciate the time and energy you have devoted to enriching our understanding. Finally, to everyone else here today, for everyone else who showed up, taking a break from your daily routine, thank you for your participation and engagement. It's through our collective efforts that we can continue making meaningful strides in our workplace safety for decades to come. Let's take these lessons forward and make them count. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Yashwant, and
Thank you, sir.
yes,
Thank you, everyone.
Yep. With anything would like to say, Jitu Saab, as a concluding remarks? Yes, I already shared the link in our chat box about the WhatsApp group. It is a knowledge transfer WhatsApp group. Please do join. It's free to gain the knowledge round the clock. So, and we do have our in case anybody wants to see our account details, these are our account details. In India, you can transfer by UPI, as well as we have this particular activity flip book from last 2 years. There are so many activities have been conducted. All those OKT sessions, YouTube links are available in this. And yes, with that, we would like to have a ceremony photograph of our event. Let me stop sharing and kindly open your cameras, please. Nice. Perfect. Great. Perfect. Thank you very much. And this concludes our 32nd OKT.